Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, October 24th. At the beginning of this week's show, we left out two Facebook groups that we wanted to give thanks to. First one being the Chili Proxies y Cartas Imprimables WWE Raw deal. They do a lot of alternate arts, a lot of user submitted stuff, a lot of guys from the Chili play groups there seem to have liked the show, as well as the WWE Raw Deal SG Facebook group. Keith over there has been very supportive over the years. Him and I have talked back and forth a lot. And he does some great alternate artwork. He's got a weekly schedule, so make sure to check him out. Our November tournament is limited to just superstars with 3 or more characters, going with like a Survivor Series theme. So tweet us out at Backlash Pod, and I'll build one of the superstars that are suggested. It should be fun. It's a month away, November 18th, so it gives me some time to build it, and we'll bring it up in the podcast. So, on to the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Backlash Podcast. We're at episode 2. I'm Eric, this is Scott. And Scott, if you're watching on the YouTube, if you look down below you there, you'll notice I got your Twitter handle this time.
Thanks.
So how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well this week. How are you doing?
I'm not bad, I'm modifying my deck a little bit, but other than that...
ready for our tournament on Sunday?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, virtual 8 superstars only. Yeah, I'm working on it, so we'll see.
So with our second episode here, we received a lot of positive feedback from our first one.
Yeah, wanted to give a shout out to the people on TCO that commented in our thread saying, awesome, listen to it. So thanks, Velicards, Creed P, Nick, Mask Llama, Buddha Dudley. Thanks for the support on Team Canada Online. And there were a few people on Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Andy Hall. You tweeted us out.
Yes, you tweeted us?
Tweeted us. And also commented on the YouTube page. So thanks, Andy. And actually, I want to get right into the user input with Nick from TCO. He sent us a story about being a new player and, an opportunity he had to do well in an event. So
he sent us a message that says, I was a new player at the time, but my first lesson from the guys I learned was just to find a way to get on the board early. Obvious, but easy to concentrate on that as an overwhelmed newbie. BFM, Big Freakin' Machine, at the time was an obvious choice, but I had problems advancing in tournaments because everyone seemed to be playing him. So in Raw Deal, there's that diversity rule where if you're not the best deck, you can't make the top.
And you're very familiar with the Big Freakin' Machine.
Yeah. So he said he tried looking for a much less obvious superstar. That was none other than Jerry the King Lawler. At the time, a free Fortitude 0, Damage 8, High Risk, which is the Falling Fist that he played, and combined with his backstage area King's Crown, you can ignore that can only be played after text for the first one.
And he actually searches for the Falling Fist off his superstar ability, so
and it's
every game you're getting that first thing.
So obviously once he was able to get the 8 Fortitude, he could use rakes, eye rakes, back rake, and there's one more.
On the multi-puppies.
Yeah. So he can get the rake and recover with the multi-puppies. Pretty simple strategy. And after getting that 8 Fortitude, he could be a little more cautious, which, as a new player, helped him feel more comfortable. What I remember most was the ending to the finals of a match. On the last turn, my opponent had exactly 10 cards in arsenal, and I had 4. He threw a suicide strike, which I could not reverse from hand or backlash because I'd pinned myself. So I figured it was over. I almost shook his hand because I wasn't as good as tracking my cards at that time, and I started overturning. And to my surprise and his dismay, I hit 2 straight reversals, a back rake and a step aside. I took the count out with no moves, which was the only time I've ever taken a count out, and the disbelief and frustration from my opponent gave me a little laugh. He had well over 100 Fortitude, and I was only hovering around 20, if that. After winning, they did a little raffle that included a box and other various prizes. I didn't win the box, but ended up with 2 packs, and I pulled a God pack or hot pack, which is all foils. And everyone hated me for a couple weeks for my luck that night, but that night really sparked my love of the game. So thanks for that awesome email, Nick. We'd love to hear other stories from the community to see what their first tournament was or when they got in the game and stuff like that.
It's a really interesting story too, because I find that is the biggest hurdle for new players coming into the game is getting past that zero fortitude, getting on the board and being able to play a lot of those, mid to late game cards, because once you hit that wall of reversals when your opponent has 12 cards in their opening hand, it's just frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's what something that we want to get into on this episode is getting that early fortitude in a game. How do you launch off right away? I know there are a lot of different options you could take. Like, let's go into classic first for those non-virtual players. You have in your mid-match, so it's something that's always available to you. You have the dirty low blow. You have those 0 for 3 panic maneuvers.
Yeah.
Panic grab combined with shoot headlock's good because you can keep getting shoot headlock back every turn.
Yeah.
As long as you get it in your opening hand.
Yeah.
But you
and
could
even before the mid-match, there's even pre-match damage cards in classic. The bash that give you 1 fortitude each, and for the love of the game, if your opponent plays title belts. Or McMahon cards, right? So
yeah, 2 title belts in the ring area. And that was actually a world champion card. So, it was made for a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big reason why he wanted to make it was for the new players to help them out.
Yeah.
I have Turn Up the Heat written here, but ever since Road to Victory came out, that shut that down.
Yeah,
and then Volley This came out. And fans love it, or not fans love it, Underdog. Fan Appreciation Day was big. I remember when 2-Man Power Trip, there was a deck running around that would Fan Appreciation Day into the German suplex. That's all I can really think of offhand for Classic. Did you have anything? Even like in deck, I remember like Shoot Forearm became really big.
Yeah, Shoot Forearm was big because it got around Revo, which a lot of people were using as their reversal base, Revolution of the Mind. There was Dirty Low Blow in the Backlash deck, which if your opponent got on the board before you, you could play a couple of those to build up to 4 fortitude. The panics and chains were great ways because they'd have to have 2 reversals as well as 2 additional cards in hand to reverse the chain card.
And even the judo moves, judo choke, it's almost a staple in all of my decks, although there isn't that many actions played these days. But as soon as they're playing 2 actions in a row, you're like, okay, I just happen to have 2 in my opening hand.
So there's your 6 fortitude for the rest of the game.
And then for virtual as well, that the game really, I think it moved into the right direction for getting that early fortitude. You have that wrestling is the name of the game. That limits the reversals your opponent can play in the before you get to that 7 fortitude
for chain maneuvers.
Yeah, well, it's for grapple
submission.
Grapple submission, but you can only play it if you're a legend or if you have a card with chain in the text.
Right, and that prevents your opponent from playing hybrid reversals to your grapple or submission maneuvers.
And after you get to 7 fortitude, it's not just a card that's useless in ring area. You can activate it, I believe, to search for a maneuver afterwards. And even the new Dirty Low Blow is really good because it's unique, so it doesn't get hit by Road to Victory.
Right.
And
it gets around Don't Be a Douchebag. It's really almost a guaranteed 2 fortitude now, which is great.
Oh, and forgot, this is just the beginning as well in the mid-match for Classic. They're set up if you wanted to run 10 in your Backlash deck. There's just about 10 fortitude guaranteed every game.
Yeah, that's in my Charlotte deck. I run 4. This is just the beginning because with all Flair decks, 4 seems to be the magic number, being a 4 Horseman member. So Charlotte, I run 4 of those. I have her unique chop that does 4 damage. It's a multi, so it's a little harder to reverse. In other decks, I run Flawless Transition with the Quick Snap Body Slam. Again, it's like the Panic from Classic, but it makes them discard an additional 2 cards. And you can run Tech in a Bottle, which is the pre-match feud that really lets you search for any chain card.
So the combination of the two, your first turn of the game, they're going to be losing upwards of 6 cards from their hand.
A lot of cards to be losing. If you partner that with a Flawless Transition with a Scoop Slam throwback instead of a Quick Snap, then they need an additional reversal. If they don't have a once is enough for a multi-reversal. So I really like that way to get on the board early in the game in virtual. And I think that's a key in virtual for me anyways. My main focus has always been how do I get 4 or 5 fortitude to start the game, and virtual's made that a little bit easier, which I enjoy. There's rarely a game where you see an opponent have 0 fortitude, I think.
And that's a struggle I found learning the virtual sets, is that the game shifted from, you know, that early game where it's that fight to get fortitude. Now it's more, what do you do that mid game? A lot of your deck building is focused around that, because you see a lot of superstars, you know, some of their abilities have that reduced fortitude cost, or there's the dynamically inclined that makes all your dynamic maneuvers -3 fortitude, or even bash with that. It's time for a Great American Bash. They have that hybrid maneuver that makes all your
-2
fortitude. Even the hardcore title belt from the virtual prizing, your maneuvers are -2 fortitude +1 damage. So that game really shifted, you know, from that early difficulty. I can't say virtual is the most new player friendly. However, for those players that, you know, always had that difficulty with the early game because everyone had their hands ready to stop everything, that's not really the case anymore.
And I mean, I've lost to a few games in virtual where they haven't played a successful maneuver, but they've played enough reversals, elbow to the face and revos, to build up fortitude to other reversals, especially tag teams. They get that classic teamwork, the 4-for-2 reversal in their mid-match.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I believe it was Legion of Doom that had access to that, and then they have a specific reversal that is pretty cheap that gets some fortitude, so they were easy to get on, a little easier to get on the board, and they didn't even have to play a successful maneuver. So.
Oh, and speaking of successful maneuvers, we forgot Backlash from the old classic sets, where it's, you know, that 0 for 3, where if they're playing 2 maneuvers in a row, there's your 3 fortitude. So, you know, for the longest time, everyone is always playing around it. Now it's, you know, are they running it kind of thing.
Do you still pack Backlash?
It depends on my deck, really.
I have never run Backlash
in
virtual.
What I hate most about that card is running into it if my opponent's running, because I'm like, should have known better.
I found that, right? I feel like our playgroup still runs it, and that may be because people like me and you just blindly run into it hoping that they're not packing it.
A lot of my early game is just blindly throwing things anyways.
Another card that is hotly debated with our play area is Road to Victory, and whether it still has value in the virtual era when a lot of Backlash cards are unique. Flawless Transition, Dirty Low Blow, they're unique. But in my opinion, like, I still run Road to Victory because it ends the opponent's turn, and that's what I want to do in virtual. End their turn no matter what, so that I can have another chance to be on the offense.
Well, there's also, speaking of ending turn, there's your reach exceeds your grasp, where if they play a maneuver with higher printed fortitude than what they have for fortitude, you reverse the card, returns to their hand, but you end their turn. So sure, they get the opportunity to play it again next turn, but you have a full turn with them having that, you know, potentially 0 fortitude.
And that's a card that's gained in popularity in our play group, because as you were mentioning earlier, there's a lot of cards that reduce your fortitude to be able to play bigger maneuvers sooner, but reach exceeds your grasp can delay that one turn and give you another turn on the offense. So it's gaining popularity in our area for sure.
I'm seeing that a lot more than Backlash, actually. And then another thing that Nick brings up is the hot packs. I want to touch on that a little bit, because that's always exciting, because mathematically it was 1 in every 6 boxes, which is a case with 6 boxes. So for a while there as a group, you know, we used to buy our own individual boxes, but then we started splitting on cases and then drafting your foils afterwards, because, you know, if everyone wants to play different guys, you're almost guaranteed to get that superstar set that you wanted. What's your memorable hot pack opening?
My first hot pack was in Insurrection when Los Guerreros just came out, and I remember thinking to myself, that's the only deck that I want to build this set. So when I bought my box, I was like, I just want to pull their foils and be able to play them, right? So I bought my starter deck, I bought my box, and sure enough, I got a hot pack, and I got both We Lie, We Cheat, We Steal, and the Chavo Guerrero Powerbomb, and I was like, yes, I got my Los Guerreros. So I was a super happy 17-year-old back then.
I don't have anything that really comes to mind.
Did
like
you
for
ever get
my
a
own
hot
experience.
pack?
I did. I got one in Divas Overload.
Okay.
I bought a box, but then we were still splitting a case afterwards
Oh, yeah.
anyways, so that made my drafting a little easier. It made it a lot easier to get test.
Yeah. And there were no shared foils in that set, were there?
I don't believe so, but I mean, you needed the I think it was 2 test pre-match cards.
Right, yeah.
Did he come out in that set? I can't remember.
No, he wasn't in Divas.
No.
I don't recall what set he was. But
Whatever
it would've been
set
after
test
that.
was
Yeah,
in, because it was all about getting those pre-match foils.
John Cena and Goldberg were the only males in the Divas set.
No, it was the set after test came out, because he came out with his trademark, because
Yeah.
booster guys only got 1 foils.
Yeah.
Then he got that must get a card. But my brother, he's 5 years younger than me, and he'd come out to the occasional events in Toronto using my card pool. And then he would, he bought a pack. I think it was Survivor Series 2 at the time. He bought a random pack on his own, hot pack.
Yeah, one single pack.
One single pack off the shelf. Some people were like, oh my God, I know there was a carload of us.
Yeah.
There was like 6 of us there. We were like, holy cow, you got this. And I think I ended up getting all the cards.
Yeah.
But then what was it? Like a year or 2 later, he went back for a random event with us.
Yeah.
Bought another single pack, and it was another
Another
hot pack.
Same
It was
story.
like, oh my God, like what is the luck? And it's not even pulling out of a box. They had it all on the shelf there, where it was all in a row. So
Yeah, it was just lucky for him. Yeah. And another hot pack I remember I got in Survivor Series 3, and I got the first to tap out match throwback and the Rock's patent footstep throwback in my same pack. So I was pretty excited about that.
that's
2
a
money
really
cards,
good one.
I didn't get the Eddie Guerrero roll up, but that's still.
That's you know what I think you could cut your losses on that one. So with this podcast here, we're recording it before our virtual 8 event. That's actually in 2 days. You still running Fandango?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still going with Heart Dynasty too. So what we're going to do is cut over to the interview.
Yeah, go live on location and have an interview with the tournament winner.
We're here live at OMG Games after a virtual 8 event, seeing 4 participants, a Team Extreme, a Summer Rae, a Heart Dynasty, and we have our winning champion of the event, Scott, playing Fandango. Scott, how was the competition today?
Woo! It was fierce.
There you have it. So with your Fandango deck,
Yes.
you discussed it a little bit in the podcast over the last few weeks. But how was the competition?
It was good. First, I played Summer Rae, which was a little bit of a disruptive deck, discarding Backlash, discarding cards from my hand. Then Team Extreme, playing lots of unique high risks with their ability. And then your Heart Dynasty, wrecking my hand with all those chain cards and unbreakable chains. So it was a good time today.
It was a good event. You won our last event as well. You're the current reigning, defending champion of OMG Games. Who do you plan on playing for our next event? It's going to be stables only, full character cards of 3 superstars or more. Do you have any, ideas of who you're going to run?
As of right now, I have the Wyatt's face card sleeved, and that's it. So I haven't given much deck thought to the deck structure because I trip over my tongue there.
All right, thanks, Scott. Let's see if you can keep that belt going into next month's event, after next month's event. Back to you,
Sounds
Eric
good.
and Scott.
What a humble winner that guy was.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Yeah.
So now I want to get into some more Virtual 8B spoilers. Creed was kind enough to send us some more. Now, there isn't as much information, there isn't, a broader range of information, but what he gave us is more detailed.
Okay.
So I have 3 things here. Pick a number of 1, 2, or 3.
Let's just start with 1.
Okay, so this is a good one, actually. So, according to the WWE, women wrestlers, they're not divas anymore.
Right.
So what happens to Charlotte, Sasha, and the other wrestling female superstars in Raw deal? We get the era of the superstar. So, I don't know if you remember, Scott, but I know some people pointed it out with the
Yes.
printouts that there were 2 cards referencing that.
Yeah.
So I'll read out the cards that were here. So we have a mid-match reversal, 6 fortitude unique, the women's evolution. Can only be packed when you're packing the era of the superstar. Reverse any unique card or any activated card effect from a unique card. Draw up to 1 card, but you get 2 cards when you have fewer cards in hand. So what does that remind you of any cards that, divas could pack? Like Skirt the Issue.
Yeah.
It's like a Skirt the Issue you can't play first turn with a bash deck.
Yeah.
Being 6 fortitude.
Yeah.
And we also get Revolutionizing the Division. It's an action/reversal special hybrid. 8 fortitude. Can only be packed when you're packing the Arrow of the Superstar. As an action, you choose 1 card in your opponent's ring and you blank it.
Nice.
As a reversal, when played from hand, you reverse any unique card, or when he is a diva, reverse any non-maneuver card. He overturns 3 cards and put up to 1 non-hybrid maneuver from your ring side of your hand. That's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
So it looks like we're getting a change. Maybe they're not going to be able to pack diva cards anymore, so we're going to see those diva maneuvers go away.
Maybe, yeah.
So I could see where they're saying is when he is a diva, reverse any non-maneuver card. So maybe that's when you're packing it, it gets rid of your diva, but do you always want to not be a diva? Mm-hmm. So some cards, need those modified clutches.
Yeah. And there are decks like my Charlotte deck that doesn't pack any cards that
so this
have
is
diva in the text, so it may be a perfect fit.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the first one that he mentions here.
And especially with superstars, divas specifically, that don't have restrictions, right? Typically they don't have to rely on the mod clutches and the girly grabs to get fortitude because they have access to bigger maneuvers to get them on the board, to win the game.
And actually, I kind of like this Skirt the Issue replacement more than Skirt the Issue because you get that activated card effect
and
reversal.
The virtual did draw back the Skirt the Issue where it's a unique now on a backstage.
I think
card,
it is for NXT format. You can't play it.
Okay.
Bash. I forget how
I
it
haven't
goes.
brushed up on it because I haven't run a diva deck that packed more than 1 anyways. So
Honestly, I've only seen I think
that
2
card
diva
came out.
decks.
Yeah.
Like if Extreme Diva was played recently, and we saw Gail Kim maybe half a year ago. Okay, so we got 2 more here, 2 or 3.
2.
So the DDP Yoga card that's coming out, anybody can use it.
Oh, interesting.
But some people will be better with it than others, especially if they spend time in a certain house with its creator. So I think that references Scott Hall, Jake the Snake Roberts. I know Chris Jericho is always promoting it on his podcast. I think Stone Cold promotes it too. So maybe those. I don't know if the podcast guys will get a bump up on
certainly
it.
Jake and Scott Hall. And
So that's exciting. And I mean, it's another broader card. I mean, right now we're seeing cards that anyone can pack more than we've had in the last set there.
Yeah.
And then for the last one is the first half of the Virtual 8, they look back. The first half of Virtual 8 looks back on things, but the second half looks forward as well. So there's going to be quite a few logos on Superstar cards for future Superstars.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So an example here is we're getting a card called the Andre the Giant Battle Royale winner.
So we'll have a Baron Corbin logo maybe.
And Mojo Rawley.
Yeah. Like we've had those references to Val Venus on classic Raw deals for so many years, and we finally got him in virtual in the V8 spoilers.
Hey, we just got a Steve Blackman logo for the first set of the releases.
Oh yeah.
On the Lions Den match, so maybe we'll get him soon too. So I want to thank Creed again for the spoilers that he gave us for Virtual AB. That's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it more now because now, it's not all limited to individual superstars getting their boosts.
These are going to boost decks that we've been playing with all along.
I mean, I'm thinking of, I love the Volley Babe of the Year deck, and I want to see what this, Arrow the Superstar is going to do for a lot of those divas, like you were saying, without the maneuver restrictions.
Yeah. How are we doing for time, Eric? Last time we forgot to start the timer for our show, and we ran a little longer than we anticipated.
We're doing really good. I mean, we're at about the halfway point. Judge is going to call halftime on it right now. I don't know. You got anything else you want to bring up?
Maybe just we'll bring up our idea for the next show. We were thinking of doing a card of the show section where We'll pick a virtual card and a classic card, and we'll feature it and talk about decks that it's good in, strategies that we like to use with it. Maybe it's where it's really good, where it's not so good. Get your feedback on when you've used the card successfully or unsuccessfully, and the texts and ideas that you've had with it. So you chose a classic card. And
Yeah.
which card did you choose?
So this card is probably before I put any reversals in my deck. I have 3 of these sleeved in there, and that's Roll Out of the Ring.
Yeah, I
absolutely
noticed that.
love
It's
this
in every
card.
deck that you play.
I built a Hell in the Cell Kane for the last one, and I had the Roll Out of the Rings in there, and I had to take them out.
So yeah, well, I'll leave my thoughts on that until next show. And then I picked Counter-Strike, which came out in Virtual 7. So you guys can read the text on that card, give us your feedback, let us know where you've used it, what you like about it, what you don't like about Counter-Strike and Roll Out of the Ring, and we'll chat about those in our next show.
But you know what? We'll wrap it up from here. We'd like to hear from you. I mean, without the community, there wouldn't be this game. So any questions, comments, or ideas, tweet to BacklashPod or at BacklashPod. Email backlashpod@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the TCO thread. On the YouTube videos. I mean, we put up the card images as we discuss them on the YouTube, so check that out. And actually, since this is a bi-weekly podcast that we're releasing, we want to put out some content on the weeks that there isn't one. So we're going to start up a player perspective show. So what we're going to do is we're going to interview players in the game, tournament organizers, people with experiences in the game, developers. So send an email if you're interested to backlashpod@gmail.com. Say where you're from, give me your name. I'll get in touch. We'll do a Skype interview. We'll make it work out. I think that's going to be it for this show.
Alrighty, sounds awesome. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.